Okay, welcome back. We've talked about multi-step equations with a variable on one side. Let's go ahead and talk about multi-step equations with variables on both sides. I didn't have any examples ready earlier, but let's go through a couple right now. So, remember that multi-step equations are just about simplifying something before you actually solve. Make sure that you're following along with your own pencil, paper, and calculator, and see if once I write the problem down, if you can pause it and solve for it, and if you can't, then go ahead and come back and we'll solve it together. So here we go. The most basic example of having variables on both sides would be something like negative 7 minus x equals 1 plus x. And you go, well, there's x's on both sides. Now what? The basic idea is that we want all of our letters on one side and all of our variables on the other. Now we're used to moving, all of our variables on one side and all of our numbers on the other side. So we're used to seeing all of our variables already on one side, but we can move them back and forth just like we can move numbers back and forth. Everything can move. Okay, so that's an idea that I really want to get ingrained into your soul is everything can move, everything can change. But we have to do it consistently. So let's say I don't want to deal with any negatives. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to add an x to both sides so that I don't have any more x's on this side because the opposite of a minus x is a plus x. So I have no more x's over there. I've done it to both sides. So I still have my minus 7, and that's going to equal, the 1 hasn't changed. But now x plus x is 2x. Well, great. Now this is just a two-step equation, right? So I can circle the term that contains my variable. I can minus 1 to both sides because that's the opposite here. This turns into a 0, and I've got negative 8 equals 2x. Well, now it's really easy, right? We're just going to divide both sides by 2. And we get x equals negative 4. Or you could have negative 4 equals x, because they're equal, right? Doesn't matter which side you write first. So that's an example of variables on both sides. Go back and watch it again if you need to. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a more difficult variable on two sides equation. So let's go ahead and get started. Without using the law of distribution, this is about as complicated as it's going to get. We've got negative 6v plus 4v minus 8 equals negative 4v plus 4v. Now, holy cow, we've got lots of variables everywhere. What are we going to do? Well, we always want to make things easier, right? If we can, we're going to make things easier. How do we make things easier? Try and combine like terms. So if you can either combine things or distribute, that's going to make your life easier. So let's take a look. Can we distribute anything? No, we can't distribute anything, but we can combine some things, right? What do we need to combine like terms? They need to have the same letter to the same variable. So let's do it. Right here, these have the same letters. Now we can't combine them across the equal sign, right? Because that equal sign acts as a barrier. But I've also got some things I can combine on this side. Great, let's do it. So on the left-hand side, if I have a negative 6v plus 4v, that's going to give me a negative 2v. We still have that minus 8 because we haven't done anything with it, so it just comes right down. Equals, because that equal sign never goes anywhere, right? A minus 4v and a plus 4v. Well, let's see. If I have a minus 4 and a plus 4 and I smush them together with addition, what do I get? I get 0, right? Well, what's 0 times v? Well, anything times 0 is 0, right? No matter what it is, it's 0. Do we have to write the 0? Well, yes, this time we do, because there's nothing else on that side. So if there's nothing there, that 0 represents the fact that there's nothing there. So now we have a two-step equation again. Let's go ahead and solve it. So the first thing that I'm going to do, if you want, you can circle the term that contains your variable. You don't have to, but I'm going to add 8 to both sides. That gives me a negative 2v. This ends up being a 0, and we don't have to write that 0 because we still have something on that side, right? Equals 8. Now I can divide by my negative 2, and v equals negative 4. So that's an example of variables on both sides. So combine things if you can, distribute things if you can, and then try and get all of your variables to one side. And then once you have your variables on one side, get your constants, your numbers on the other side, and then you're just solving for whatever variable you have, right? Rewatch this if you need to. I'm going to try and post other sources, but let me know if you really can't figure it out, and we'll get together, okay?